Retailers, they're calling the president's latest $200 billion worth of possible tariffs on China products. They call it reckless. The retailers say it'll hurt families, hurt workers, and here is the quote from the National Retail Federation. The threat to the U.S. economy is less about a question of if and more about when and how bad. Joining us now is the National Retail Federation president. His name is Matt Shay. He's used to coming on this program and taking a victory lap because he wins everything in Washington. But I'm going to take issue with you. You're assuming that there's a negative effect on the American economy if these tariffs are imposed and if they stick. There's no reason to assume that. These tariffs are a threat from our president. They are leverage from our president to do a better trade deal in the long run. Go ahead. Take me on.
Stuart, I'd like to agree with you, but our job is to assume the worst. And in this case, we've got to assume that these tariffs are not just a negotiating ploy, they're actually going to take effect. And history tells us, you go back to President Obama and tires, President Bush and steel, President Nixon and oil, all the way back to Smoot-Hawley, and I know you know your history, you know that tariffs don't work and they've never worked. So I'm glad you're very confident. You know more than we do that these are just a negotiating tactic. We've got to take it seriously.
I don't know any more than you do, but I read what's going on, and I don't think you've got any reason to assume that these tariffs will all be imposed and that they will stay forever. You can't assume that. It's a negotiating tactic. It has been all along. Well,
I'd like to believe it, but I've got to go along with Speaker Ryan and Chairman Hatch and Chairman Brady and Senator Flake and Senator Corker and the 88 members of the Senate who yesterday voted to insert themselves into this debate, make sure Congress has a say in the president's decision on tariffs.
That's the last thing you want. Congress couldn't do a thing on immigration. They couldn't get rid of Obamacare, and you want to put them in charge of complicated trade negotiations?
And, Stuart, we spent an entire year talking about the benefits of tax reform last year. Tax reform encouraged investment, it encouraged consumption, it made us competitive, it helped working class families, and tariffs will do the exact opposite. They will discourage consumption, discourage investment, they'll hurt American families. They're the wrong way to go. We've got to assume the worst, and we've got to ensure that the president and the administration understand the risk.
When you're doing a trade negotiation, you want somebody who is taking in the national interest, America's national interest. And that's President Trump. You turn this over to Congress, and you're introducing all kinds of special interests into the mix who all want to grind their axe. It would take years and years and years to get anything out of this Congress. And you know
Stuart, my support for what happened in the Congress yesterday and our support for this measure is simply to demonstrate the level of concern. I'm not suggesting we want Congress negotiating trade deals. That's why we have free trade agreements, and FTA gets supported by the Congress so the president can negotiate. We all agree with that. I agree with you on that. It does not make sense, however, to threaten the economy with these tariffs. And you see what's happening. The volatility in the market, it's up today, but it was down yesterday. People are focused on corporate earnings right now. We've got a very tight labor market. We're in an inflationary environment already with the tax cuts. If you dump tariffs on top of that, American families are going to pay the price. That's the wrong way to go. We ought to focus on the things that work. Let's bring the Chinese to the table. Let's bring our NAFTA partners and our EU partners. If you think these tariffs are a way to get them to the table, that's fine. But let's get to the table and let's stop fooling around with tariff talk.
I believe that they are actually at the table, both with China, with NAFTA, and certainly with Europe. Yes.
Well,
yes, they are. They're talking constantly about this.
There are no conversations with the Chinese. I don't think we should let our frustration or animus with the Chinese blind us to the negative consequences of tariffs. American families are going to pay the price. That's why Vice President Pence is out in the heartland trying to make sure everyone understands we're going to take care of you. I hope that he's right.
Yes.
Because right now, a lot of people are very concerned about this. I know our members are very concerned.
I know you are. And you're a fine special interest representative. And that's not a pejorative.
I wish I could agree with you, but then we'd both be wrong. I can't do that.
Thanks for joining us, Matt. Appreciate it.
All right, Stuart. Thanks.